All right, cool. We are in. We are live. Hey, gentlemen, good to see you all again. We've got a few special guests. Let me have everybody just mute your mics just really quick. I just want to share a couple of things before we get started tonight. We're back, everybody. Uh, mute y'all camera real quick. I mean, mute y'all mics. I hear that feedback. All right, cool. We took last week off. We do appreciate each of you who have been joining us for this 8-part series. Tonight is part 7. Last week we took off because we were many of us were part of the Equity Summit. I do appreciate those who are watching us live who joined us at the Equity Summit. It was an amazing experience, a convening, a gathering of thought leaders from across the country in areas of education, policy, and sports. We had about 1,200 registrants, about 20 partners, 10 sponsors. It was just a phenomenal outpouring of just really our people. 99% of all the speakers were African American or Latino. Dr. Tristan Glenn, who's one of our guests tonight, I call him Tris. His mama called him Tristan too, but he was part of the panel discussion last week. He presented well, I'll let you talk about your presentation, man, because you did a phenomenal job. But we had 135 speakers, 47 sessions, and we're going to do it all again next year. We'll just appreciate all of you being a part of it. Look, so tonight I want to introduce my special guest. You are joining us for part 7, From His Lips to Her Ears, Black Men Raising Daughters. Tonight is, what is tonight? I'm just so excited about tonight. I almost forgot what the topic is. Oh, her first love. Her first love is tonight. We're gonna dive deep into your daughter having her first crush, your daughter having her first love, you as a father being your daughter's first love. What did you teach your daughter about love, right? And so we're super excited about our special guests, as well as just really being back in rhythm with all of you, those who are joining us by web. Kinley Reaves is a great friend and brother of mine. I've known, my goodness, since I was an undergrad at the West Virginia University. I was a 160 pound, still could jump out the gym. And then when I met this brother, man, he just took my
game. Back when you thought you could hoop.
He took my game to a whole nother level. He's right. When I thought I could hoop until I met this cat, man. Not only did he help me on the basketball court, but he also helped me in life. And so just appreciate this many years of friendship. We're talking about 04, 05. It's been that many years, Kinley. I love you, bro. And then the other guest tonight is my good friend and brother, Tristan Glenn. Dr. Glenn is what they call him at Kennesaw State, Tristan to me. But Tristan Glenn is a professor at Kennesaw State University. He's a world-renowned scholar, man. This brother's up and down East Coast, traveling globally, doing major things in the land. I love his research interest because he focuses on Black males, and I don't think there's enough of us who focus on Black males. And so it's great that his scholarship really is centered on this Black males and really helping us demystify and debunk the myths that Black men are aggressive and lazy and don't have anything to offer the land. But if you read your history, the correct history, this world was built on the backs of Black men and Black women. But I won't jump into that tirade tonight. I really want to focus on the issue at hand tonight. And then y'all know the rest of us, Fred, Duct Tape, Robinson, Reggie Abreu, Eric Murphy, and he's in his bed tonight with his lights half dim because he's got the COVID. So send a special prayer up for him. I think he's in day 9 or day 10 of recovery. And so I'm glad that he's doing well.
Day 9, brother. Day 9. Day 9.
Like you told me earlier, it's been very isolating to be in your room for 9 days, right? I can only imagine what that's like.
Sucks.
Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and jump in. Gentlemen, I want to give you guys just a quick 30 to 60 seconds opportunity just to share what it is that you do, where it is that you're located. Kinley, we'll start with you, and then Tristan will end with you, and then we'll get started with the questions.
Kinley Reaves, my name. Of course, you see Kinley on the screen right here. I don't know. This is my first podcast, so I don't know what you can see and what you can't see. I live in Mississippi. I've been here about 11 years now, and I moved here from New York, Queens. So there was a culture shock, to say the least. I have a daughter, and I think we're going to be talking about relationships as it is with our daughters, their first love, So yes, I do have one. So I guess I have some input, some jewels to drop. Once we get an opportunity to do that, I will. Um, I'm a police officer here. Been on the force for 11 years. Um, Worked in the prison sector, death row. So I've been in, law enforcement, corrections, most of my career. Graduated from Long Island University. And I'm just, happy to be a part of this podcast tonight with my man Jay.
Cool. Great to have you, Kinley. Tristan.
Good evening, brothers. Feels good to be here. Excited to take part in such a dynamic uh, conversation this evening. I am Tristan Glenn, and I am an associate professor of special education and the director of Call Me Mister at Kennesaw State University. For those of you who may not be aware of Call Me Mister, it is a mentorship, recruitment and mentorship program for Black males who are interested in becoming teachers. Jay knows all too well that currently Black only constitute 2% of the teachers, while conversely, children of color constitute approximately 55% of all school-age children. So if you think about that, it's no wonder why many of us who are on this call perhaps went through our entire schooling experience without having the wonderful opportunity to be educated by someone who looks like us. So my scholarship, as Jason has alluded to, is centered around this whole notion of diversity educator prep, particularly the appropriate preparation of all teachers to meet the needs of students of color who are in their classroom. So that's my work. That's where I'm situated. That's where I focus. Again, I'm glad to be here. Excited about this dynamic discussion that we're going to have.
Thanks, Tristan. Dr. Staples, great to see you, sir. Tristan and Kinley, Dr. Staples is number 5 of our group. So it's great to have him on the call tonight. Dr. Staples is Kinley Reaves, Tristan Glenn, both fathers to daughters. And tonight, as you know, we're talking about her first love. I'm going to pose the first question for you, Kinley. And then I also want you to answer it as well. Tristan, let me see if I can take the ticker off. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so look, there's this saying that a daughter's first love for her man is her father. Now, we know that may be true in some instances and may not be true in others. We do know that there are fathers, fatherless households where daughters are raised and they're raised by their mother or grandmother. There's no father around. But for those households where daughters are raised by their fathers, how have you defined and created space for love for your daughter? Kinley, how have you, as a man, defined and then created space to coexist between you and your daughter?
Well, first, let me just say that I believe that love is an action word. I think that's you have to show that in order for her to learn it. It's more than just telling anybody, hey, I love you, without having some type of action behind it. Now, I do have a daughter. However, me and my daughter's mom are divorced. So I had to love and show that love from a distance. So basically that was a lot of conversation about what she should be expecting, what she shouldn't be, allowing to happen in relationships. My daughter is 19. She's 6 foot tall. She's tall, and she's a big girl. She's an athlete, and she goes to TSU, Tennessee State University in Nashville, and she loves it there. So of course, we see something we like, we're gonna go after it. So my conversation with my daughter is to make sure that one, a guy is respectable to her, the way he approaches her, and just red flags. Because in my line of work, I try to use what I've learned in my profession to help her to identify red flags in relationships. How dudes move, um, the negative vibes that she should be picking up. Because I mean, at the end of the day, most women not going to really understand that or pick that up unless they told, "Hey, look out for this, look out for that." Because we, as men, we're hunters. We know we know how we're going to pursue a woman. We know which angle we're going to go, how we're going to move, what we're going to say. So we have it figured out. We may not hit the mark every time. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we have an approach game on how we're going to pursue a woman. So basically, what I've done is just kind of school her on game. Try to school her on game. And for me, I think that's just a part of my concern, my love, my protection for her is to school her and get her prepared for them dudes, the N word. Get her prepared for how they gonna move, how they gonna come at you. Make sure that you put yourself in a position to where you don't have to worry about or depend on a man. And I think a lot of times that's the approach. Let me pay for this. Let me do that. Let me take care of this. And sometimes young women, they fall into that. But as long as she got me, she knows she don't have to worry about that. So that's one game that ain't gonna work when it comes down to her. Is let me pay for this and let me pay for that. Nah, my dad, he's straight. He whatever I need, he gonna cover that. So to answer your question, that's one of the ways of Benny that I show my love and how I prepare my daughter for love in a relationship.
Ken, I'm glad you mentioned red flags. We're going to touch on that before we close out tonight. And I'm glad that you and Tristan are part of that conversation because there are some red flags that we know as men that we can tell our daughters that sometimes their moms may not pick up on. That's a great point, Ken. Tristan, same question. Curious to know how have you defined and created space for love for your daughter?
Well, I agree with much of what the brother Ken just discussed. My daughter I'm parenting a 13-year-old who she's in 8th grade, so he's a bit ahead of me in terms of that process and how in which conversations that you have in order to create an awareness of how the world works, right? So when I think about how I've gone about finding love for my daughter and then creating space to cultivate and foster that love, I think from the very beginning, I have always referred to her as being a princess. And if we think about kingdoms and princesses and queens and how we move, I think it
Tristan, your mic is cutting in and out. Tristan, can you hear me?
Yeah, it looked like he lost signal.
Yeah, your mic's cutting in and out. Go ahead and log out, Tristan. You got the code to log back in. Lamar, while he's doing that, Dr. Staples, I want you to answer that question, and then we'll get back to Tristan as he logs back in and fixes his mic. Same question, Dr. Staples. How have you defined and created space for love for your daughter? Your daughter is college age. Kinley's daughter is college age. And just very curious about how over the years you've been able to curate that love and define that love for your daughter. How have you done that?
Well, first and foremost, one of the first things I started to do with my baby is like Officer Kelly said. He said it's an action word. Love is an action word. I had to allow her to see. Had to allow her to see how love's supposed to look like. I had to show her love. I had to show her, you know, by while she's watching the relationship between me and her mother, and oftentimes, you know, and I don't want to paint the pretty picture as if everything has been hunky-dory and everything has been wonderful since she came into this world. She saw the good and she saw the bad. I didn't hide anything from her. So she got a real picture of what it really meant to be and what it is to really be loved. Like I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. She was right there. She had a front row seat to see all of it. Most of my issue is that in this whole first love piece, we often see it, and it can be connected to, as a lot of scientists would say, it can be connected to emotion and areas of directly linked to, how can I say this? Directly linked to addictions. The same type of feeling that comes inside of hormonal imbalance when we start dealing in the area of addiction are some of the same things that people begin to feel when they look at the emotional side of it, when you start dealing in the area of drug addictions. So with that love piece, the same hormonal imbalance that you have that same thing if you end up doing something like, let's just throw out one drug, just for instance, Oxycontin. Oxycontin gives you the same feeling oftentimes as what is related to when it comes to the emotional being as being loved. So what I did was I began to show her a system, so that it was a motivational system versus it being a emotional system. The motivational side of it is we are working towards this goal. Let me motivate you. Let me show you how two people can come together and begin to push forward from that particular place, so that you will know what love is from a motivational standpoint, not from an emotional standpoint.
I see how you.
What do you do for one another?
Yeah, I see how you're breaking it down, creating that system. And I don't think we talk enough about that, because psychology today will talk about emotions, right? And then the Bible will talk about this, and then the world will talk about that. But it sounds like for you and your daughter, you've created a system or a process on how to approach love, right? Yeah. Not from the emotional standpoint, but if you decide to get yourself into this thing, this is what you need to know about it.
I mean, emotions are simply fleeting. Emotions come and they go. Angry one moment, sad the next moment, depressed another moment, in love one moment, hatred the next moment. It's a thin line between love and, you know, the whole thin line piece. Yeah. So the thing is, don't fall in love. And I had to teach her this, and I began to share some of these things with her. It's like, don't just fall in love with an idea. Because oftentimes what men do is we sell an idea. We'll sell you an idea. Once we sell you that idea, then you stuck and you fell in love with the idea, not with the person.
The game. Expose the game.
That's all it is. It's game. So expose the game. If I'm a real good seller, I can sell you anything. Yeah. I done gave you the hypothetical story. I done gave you the future end. I done showed you all of this wonderful stuff. And oftentimes the problem that we have, especially in our generation and then generations before us, on the women's side of it, we talked about this before. Women are geared and been set up for so many years with playing with the Barbie dolls and the Ken dolls, and they showed how love's supposed to look like according to what society say it is. But if we dive a little bit deeper and look at it from a systematic place of love, you look at love from systematically, then you have to look at it like, you know, even when you do fall in love, it will always leave a hormonal imprint upon your life.
That's right.
Man, that's heavy. Hold on, Dr. Stable. Hold on, because you're going real deep. I want to touch on that piece you just mentioned about the societal norms, and I want to come back to our guest really quick, Kinley and then Tristan. Dr. Staples kind of ended when he was talking about this societal norm and how love is an emotion you have to be very careful about, because it's fleeting. So Kinley and then Tristan, love is often a feminine expression. Right? The expression of love is often feminine. So in what ways have you discussed how men should love in spite of these societal norms? Societal norms suggest that men are barbaric and aggressive and are not in tune and in touch with their emotions. So Kinley, how have you, or in what ways have you discussed with your daughter how men should love in spite of what society is saying?
Well, I think, just like my brother was just saying, you got to understand what love is. And I think a lot of times men, that's part of the game is we dangle love over their head, like that's the bait. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we can say we love you, but really at the end of the day, like for most men that I know, they really want to be respected in their relationship.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Love is like, okay, you love me, that's good to know, but I need you to respect me though. I need you to respect me. Put some respect on my name. So, respect, I think we hold respect at a higher standard in a relationship than actual love. And I think this vice versa for women. Because I mean, think about it. Anytime you've heard somebody that's dealing with infidelity or something like that, what's the first thing she gonna ask you? Do you love her? Do you love her? Because that's important to them. They want to know that. So, for men, we want to be respected, but we also need to show the respect and how to care for a woman. We show women the love by respecting them and doing the things that we're supposed to do as men, because a woman will open up and love a man when she feels secure, when she feels
Mm.
like she's protected and she's
Mhm.
being led and he's doing the right thing. Then that's when you find the love part. You don't automatically just get love from a woman.
Mm.
There's certain levels of the relationship that you have to hit the mark on before you get that part of them. So, as you're teaching your daughter, as I'm teaching my daughter, you know, well, tell me about your guy, tell me about this dude. She has a boyfriend now. She's been crazy about me meeting him and this, that, and the other. Now, I want to meet him, but I tell her, I don't want to meet him right now.
Yeah, right, right.
You
I'm
gotta
with
you gotta play hardcore with him for a little while. I don't want to meet him right now because I don't think it's really serious. Oh no, Dad, but I really love him. I really like him a lot. He's a good dude. He likes guns like you and this, that, and the other. And that's the other thing. So she knows what I like. So she meets somebody that likes what I like, then that's like, oh, my dad. She's thinking subconsciously that, hey, you know what, my dad might approve of him because he likes the same things.
you. Mm.
So that's something else that I think that we take for granted when we have when we have daughters, is that they watch us and they learn us as men, and then when they go out and they find guys and they're like, oh, you know what, my dad does that, or my dad loves that, you know, and they put that in the back of their mind, like, oh, this might be the guy
Yes.
because he's similar to what I know as a man, a father, the person who loves me unconditionally. So they kind
Even
of,
if it's hated.
correlate those things. But I don't know if that answered your question directly.
No, but I feel like you got to, because you touched on respect, and I think that respect is so important. And then you also mentioned that a woman's importance to feel secure, her importance to feel safe. And so, in order to
Right.
be safe and secure, sometimes it's not the love that comes first; is the respect, right? And
Right.
so, I thought that was a very good point. Ken, before Tristan jumps in, I do want you to give me just a couple of tangible things, as you mentioned esoterically this level of respect, but give me some, like, what it looks like. What does it look like for a man to show love or to show respect in spite of what society says that he is? He's not just barbaric, he's not just aggressive, he's not just not in tune and in touch with his emotions. Give me some tangible things that men should be doing, or that a should be looking for when it comes to love from a man.
Well, I'm gonna say this: in order for any man to have a successful relationship with a woman, I think that man has to have first a very successful relationship with God.
Mm.
Whenever you have a relationship with the Father and you're doing what the Father has deemed you to do as a man in a relationship, I think all the pieces, the pieces of the puzzle, they fall together. When you're doing it and you're being obedient to what God has called you to be as a man in a relationship, all those pieces are going to fit together. I think there's blessing in a relationship when there's obedience to the Lord. So if you're respecting the word and you're respecting what God has called you to be and to do, then you shouldn't fail when it comes down to your energy in the relationship. Now that doesn't mean that you're not going to have any problems. It's not, that's not a fix all. But what it is that you realize the fact that you're being held accountable for your actions in a relationship on how you handle and how you deal with what God gave to you. So don't get it twisted like, you went out and got this woman. That woman is what God put in your life. So you have to do what he commands you to do in order for you to be successful in leading this woman. And within leading that woman, she's going to in turn love you and open her heart to you, and she'll be your ride or die. And I don't know about all you guys, man, but I know for myself that I have female friends that we're not in a relationship, but they still would be considered a ride or die. Like I could call them and I could depend on them to do whatever, take care of whatever, and they'll be like, no problem, kid, I got you. It's because of that, it's the respect. It's how you treat somebody. When you treat somebody good, it's gonna be reciprocated. The women gonna reciprocate that.
Ken, I like how you framed the spiritual piece, because I think one of the common themes of this show, even though it wasn't intended for this, we always return back to this spiritual awakening within us as men, and then recognizing that our communication and our approach in life and in relationships really has to be centered on our own spiritual growth, the spiritual walk, the spiritual awakening. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Tristan, you're back in, and I want you to address this question, the same one that Ken just answered. We know that in society that love is often a feminine expression, and that men weren't raised necessarily to play with Barbie dolls or Ken dolls, or to think about love, marriage, and relationships. We were outside running the streets, chasing girls, playing basketball, football. So in what ways have you discussed with your daughter or emulated as a model in your home how men should love in spite of societal norms?
So I think that conditioning process that you speak of, in which we learn the ways in which men should present and perform, I think that leads us to believe that these certain leaning into particular emotions is just not something that we should be comfortable with doing, right? I think we spend a lot of time. I think I would venture to say that a lot of the issues with mental health that we deal with within our community as Black men in particular can be traced back to those initial understandings and that initial orientation of self, in which we're taught that, boy, stop crying, right? Or stop, put that doll down, right? Or we don't do certain things because that's not masculine. So we grow up with this phony notion of masculinity that can be traced back to white middle-class patriarchal ideology, right? We have internalized their perspective of what a man is. And we have adopted these belief sets and systems. So what I do in terms of deconstructing and moving beyond what society says a man should and shouldn't be, is that I adopt and allow my wife and daughter to lead me in these along these pathways of how to be emotional, how to communicate. I also find myself doing those same things to my son, right? Give him hugs. I grew up under that very same flawed orientation, right? So, and I got a sister, and her and I a little over a year apart. So I grew up playing with the dolls, and I'm thankful that my mom never cut that short. But I had a lot of men in my family who spoke to that, hey man, you don't do this. And I grew up playing football in every sport under the sun, and I'm thankful for that. But along the way, we ask ourselves, I think a legitimate question for us all to ask ourselves is, when are we going to stop the process of redistributing trauma, right? So we are raised in a particular way. We have we're raising away, and we might do something with our children that's inconsistent or consistent with what our parents have done to us or what older men have done to us, and we tell ourselves that I made it out, I'm okay. Because we're well-adjusted and functioning and independent males, we think that the trauma that we endured was okay and it made us better. So the question that I always find myself asking myself and others, yeah, I made it out, but am I okay? Right? Because when you have these moments when you are alone, when it's just you and you got to contend with self, you're willing to be honest, you can come to a conclusion that a lot of these ways I'm not okay. And what I've become comfortable with is acknowledging that I'm not okay. Just the other day, I was talking to my children are homeschooled because of the pandemic. They've been in virtual school all year. And speaking of daughters, my daughter and I had a tense moment in which she was frustrated with online learning. I had an expectation. She believed she was meeting it, and there was a miscommunication. And at the end of that, I was honest and open with her that, hey, I'm struggling in this moment too, trying to manage all of the demands of providing and protecting, in addition to dealing with all of the things that have come along with this pandemic and us as being leaders out in the community. So I think once we become comfortable with leaning into real legitimate emotion, love is an emotion, right? Love is a legitimate emotion. So is pain. But we spend so much time convincing ourselves that we're not hurting, and it positions us to be fearful of love because we think that love is going to translate into some level of pain because that's all we've been shown, right? When you're weak, you're setting yourself up to be hurt. But I'm here to say it's okay to be hurt. It's okay to be loved, and it's okay to love those around us. And when we realize that, when we move beyond that, we trying to live according to a standard that was never created for us and did not need to be. We're strong, we're caring, we're nurturing by nature. Most Black men that I know don't have to be asked to be strong and be caring for those that are around them. The unfortunate part about it is we show that love in flawed and unhealthy ways. We'll show love to our to people around us that love find themselves on the.
Yo, Tris, go ahead and reconnect, bro. This brother dropping some knowledge. My God.
Oh man. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Hey, look, I'm going to pause parenthetically and just say two things really quick. Those who are just listening, tuning in for the first time, we are talking about Black men raising daughters, her first love. Our special guest, Kinley Reaves, Tristan Glenn are on tonight, talking about their own lived experiences and how they raise their daughters and how they talk about love. If you have not shared it on your Facebook page, please share. Please invite a few friends. Y'all are missing some gems tonight. I'm over here. Like, this is crazy. And then second reason I'm pausing is because I need Reggie and then Fred and then Eric. Need you, Murph. Y'all need to chime in if y'all have a comment or a probing question, because I don't even want to move on to the other questions yet until we deal with this piece that Tristan is talking about, this trauma. Are we redistributing and repurposing trauma?
Redistribution,
right?
I felt it with that.
Just because we okay doesn't mean we're really okay, right? We say we okay, but don't mean we okay. So Reggie, Murph,
real talk,
and, Fred, y'all go ahead and chime in, man, before we go on to the next question. This is heavy.
So yeah, that's definitely.
I just want to.
Oh, go ahead. Okay. So my question.
Bro, go ahead, bro. I'm just excited.
All right, cool. So my question for Brother Kenley was, I know you mentioned with your daughter that when she tries to identify some guys that she might be interested in, she kind of tries to correlate like the things that you're interested in with the things that he's interested in, and then looking at that as a potential match. Do you feel like she knows how to articulate and identify the characteristics that you have that she needs to find in the men that she's looking in? Does that make sense? Like, instead of looking in for common interests, but looking for common characteristics.
I think the common interest part is her way of thinking that I would like him.
Gotcha.
Not necessarily and I probably said I probably worded that wrong when I said to be a person for her, but maybe more so that I would accept him because we have something in common. But not his character or anything like that. I mean, you know, it's like I was saying before, teaching my daughter how to see and recognize game when it's coming is part of understanding the character of who's ever trying to pursue her. But when it comes down to meeting somebody who likes the things that I like, because she knows a lot of the things that I like, I think that's more of her way of trying to get me to like who she likes. But you know, I'm not really easy to like who she like. But that's one of her ways. Oh, Dad, you know, he likes guns too. You know, like, hey, you know, talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get me to be like, hey, you know, I like him. I want you to like him too, Dad. So I guess that's one of her ways of trying to bridge the gap between this guy and me. But I mean, it didn't matter. He could like everything I like. It ain't gonna it ain't gonna happen. It's gonna take a lot more than that. But like my brother was saying, I want to say this too because I think it's important. I grew up with all brothers. My mom had 5 boys, no girls. So our household wasn't a lot of love, sharing and hugging and all that. Like nobody was crying and all that. Like, you know, man up. So, and you know, my mom, she grew up, she had 5 brothers and she was the only girl. So she's surrounded by guys. She was surrounded by males. So I was the 4th born son. So I have 3 older brothers and 1 younger brother, you know, that was killed 2013. God bless him. But I didn't grow up knowing how to show affection like that. So going into a marriage and not having that, not knowing that, it did a lot to our relationship negatively because whenever there was a problem and she was emotional about it, I was like barking, like, get over it. What do you mean? You know, but not being able to be, you know, understanding and being able to apologize and stuff like that. You know, it was a lot that I had to learn going on that would help my marriage because I didn't have that growing up. I didn't know how to show affection and stuff like that. And I didn't know that. So it's like my brother said, you know, when you're alone and the things that, you know, are you okay? You know, I didn't know that until I had to go and talk those feelings out to understand the fact that, hey, you know what? I'm not soft. I don't know how to, you know, explain that to you. Like, you know, I don't understand the crying and all that. Like, your feelings are hurt. I don't understand any of that. So I had to learn that I had to approach it and respond to that differently than what I was doing in order to have something successful. And I didn't know that then.
That was my other question.
You said a couple of things. First of all, no, go ahead, brother. Go ahead,
Reggie, and then Murph jump in.
That was my other question that I was wondering when you first started sharing was, when were you able to make the transition? Because I'm very similar where if I hear a problem, I just want to give a solution. And I started realizing more and more that with women, I can only imagine with a daughter. I don't have children yet, but, you know, especially, you know, as they're young, that they just want you to listen. So when were you like aware enough to realize that you had to transition like from problem solving to like just be here and listen and be understanding? Like, did that take you a while? Were you aware of it? Did somebody bring it to your attention? Did she bring it to your attention? Like, how did you kind of make that transition from like, you know what I'm saying, hardcore alpha, raised with all guys to like now being able to be tender with your daughter?
Well, everybody that has a daughter has a daughter's mother, a baby mama. So so basically what happened for me was my ex-wife would come to me and say, hey, you need to listen. She was schooling me on how to deal with her because she's a woman. Like, don't always have something to say. Sometimes you just need to just be quiet and just listen. So, I had to humble myself in order to, take that lesson and learn it and then apply it to whenever my daughter was able to call me on the phone and have something to say, that I need to listen, because it ain't always a situation where you need to say something. And knowing your daughter and understanding that it's okay to just listen, over time you learn that skill to know, hey, you know what, this is a moment that I need to be listening.
Mm-hmm.
This is a moment that I need to be listening.
Mm-hmm. That's good. We got
So,
a few more minutes left.
it wasn't like a light. It wasn't like a light switch, to answer your question. It was taught to me. Hey, you know what? Your daughter needs you to listen.
Listening is important. Hold that thought. Can we get to that here in a minute? Just in the interest of time, Murph and then Fred, I want you either both or one of you to ask a question to Tristan, and then I want to kind of get into one more question to our guests on toxic love before we close out, man, because I'm dropping some gems tonight, and I got to go back and listen to this. I know, Fred, you're really good about going back and listening to stuff and telling us how it was and how it sounded. But tonight, man, I think it's coming out so fast. I don't even have enough time to take all the notes down. If you're just tuning in, you are in for a real treat, talking about Black men raising daughters and her first love, how we cultivate love in our homes, and as Ken said, prepare them for the game, because the game is out there. Go ahead, Murph.
Thanks, bro.
For
first of all, can you guys hear me? You guys hear me?
Yeah.
You're good? Okay. First of all, I want to say, brothers, you guys are spitting fire tonight, and I'm just excited about listening to this again. And I'm wondering something, Tristan. I was thinking about what you just said there about, providing her with guidance and boundaries and expectations and things like that, and how you have to change expectations. Sometimes, I think that was Kinsley, you said something about expectations need to change sometimes, or something like that. My question for you, my man, is, so with discipline and boundaries, how did you teach them how to love themselves? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you got that discipline and boundaries, it speaks to us because we're men. So I'm talking about standards and structure and blah, blah, blah. But that softer area, that unfamiliar area, is self-love. And Kinsley, you said something that spoke volumes to me. My daughter is a 165-pound athlete, soccer chick, and most of her weight is in her lower half. And I've had to have a conversation with her about that body. You know what I'm saying? And when you said my daughter's 6'1" and she ain't a little girl, that spoke to me. So I'm just wondering, how do you help them find that love for self, and how that love for self translates into them choosing a man that's on point with that?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I don't have the book.
Hold on, Ken. Tristan, jump in.
Was that to me?
Tristan, jump in, and then we can follow up with Ken. I want to be able to share the time and the space tonight.
Yeah. Well,
was that question to me?
Give it to Doc first, and then we're gonna come to you second.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
For me, I think that I aim to achieve that by one of the terms that I like to use in my courses and when I do speaking engagements, this whole notion of growing, right? So I think when you think about growing and what that entails, it entails you to pour into something, right? So if I want my daughter to grow up and be a confident, independent, self-assured, well-adjusted young woman, then I need to begin the process of pouring into her and putting those things into her. So I speak to her in those terms. I talk about greatness being the goal. That's one of the mantras of my household. Like, greatness is the goal. So I asked my daughter and my son, I asked them very directly, if what you're doing isn't moving you closer towards greatness, then we have to ask ourselves a legitimate question of why are we doing it? So what I do with my daughter, I not only speak these things, but I try to provide a model for her. And that model consists of me spending time with her. One of the things that I like to do, one of the things that I like to do most often by myself is work out. Well, when the pandemic started, we all know our homes, basements, garages, spare rooms became gyms for many of us. So my daughter took it on herself to begin the process of exercising with me. So when I think about how do I set that example, how do I show love, I make sure that I show interest in the things that are interesting to her. Right. So when you talk about listening and meeting your children where they are, it's an intentional process that you have to move according to them. One of the things that I think that in our community in particular that we don't see a lot of examples of is giving our children's voice and empowering that voice. Right. And in the way in which they're able to practice they're articulating themselves and advocating is perhaps with you. Right. So you may be asking something of them that they think is unfair. You have to be mature and strong enough in your sense of self to allow your child to tell you when you are missing the mark. You know, the word of God, out of the mouths of babes, thou has ordained strength. So I allow my daughter to inform me that you got me upset when you did this. And then I have to with that. One of the Megan Bowler talks about, Aroyan Clemens talks about owning your intent as well as your outcome. See, a lot of times we don't intend to cause harm to others with the way in which we treat them, but that doesn't mean that that's not the outcome. And when that's the outcome, I have to own that. I have to do something with that, right? So if I care about you and your happiness means something to me, I can't just dismiss your notion of being harmed by something that I did by simply saying, hey, well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Well, no, I didn't mean to do it, but you harmed, so now we have work to do. So what I found to be an example of providing love to my daughter is inviting her into that meaning-making process and being willing to allow her to teach me how to better love her. And when my intended actions do not meet the purpose and the outcome is short of what I would like it to be, as men, we're not always willing to allow others to tell us when we're missing the mark. And that, again, that whole notion of that masculinity that has become toxic bleeds into all other areas of our lives. And it does what we understand, it stunts our growth. So it can stunt your growth in profession, it can stunt your growth in your marriage, it can stunt your growth in your other relationships, and it can stunt your growth with your children and their development. But I'll close by saying this. Any relationship that's important to you, you need to be intentional about what you put into that relationship. And if I want my daughter, again, to be strong, independent, well-adjusted, I have a role in that process. And that's a role that I take very seriously.
Thank you, bro. Thank you very much. Kinsley, how about you, brother? How did you show, with all the structure and, you're a police officer and all that good stuff, how did you show your daughter like the recreational part to love? Like, how did you help her loosen? How did you help her turn down and still stay excellent? You know what I'm saying?
Well, it came from support and reassurance, and I'm her hype man. So I got my confidence from support and my family hyping me. So we have to be her number one fan. Her family is her number one fan, and we hype her. You know what I'm saying? I hype her up every time. Like, man, I tell her all the time, like, you the shit. I tell her straight up, like, you got it going on, sister. Like, you doing your thing. I'm so proud of you. Like, you killing them. So that reassurance all the time just helps her build her self-esteem up. And I had to learn that as well. Her mom, a lot of times, man, I just had to just listen to what, her mom tells me, because, just like I told you, I grew up with a bunch of boys, bunch of guys, and I don't really know all that sentimental, soft stuff. I didn't really understand that. I didn't know that. So I had to learn that, and I had to have a humbling spirit and a humbling ear in order to listen to that and then apply it. You know what I'm saying? And when I started to apply it, I'm like, you know what? She is onto something. This really works. My way don't work. This really works. And, that's all I really have been to her, just, a hype person. because I mean, dudes is going. She's 6'1" and she thick, so I know they going at her. I know they going at her. So it ain't nothing they gonna be able to tell her that she ain't heard from her dad. Like, girl, you got it going on. Don't that's this game that you hear. They gonna tell you that, but you really know that you really have it going on. So in her mind, she don't need nobody to know no dude to hype her up because her dad's hyping her. Her dad, she got her dad there to boost her ego up. A lot of times, women don't have that. When they don't have that, then you open the door up for some dude to hype her and stroke her ego and have her feeling like she all of that, and then that's this part of the game. But to answer your question, man, I support her. I'm her number one fan. I hype her up, and support goes a long way. Support goes a long way. And I know that because, like I say, I had 3 older brothers. So growing up, going to high school and stuff like that, nobody really dealt with me. They wasn't nobody gonna punk me because they knew that I had brothers. So when you got somebody got your back, or you gonna act the fool. Y'all know, you got somebody that's gonna ride with you. You're gonna act the fool. Yeah. So she know I got her back. So it's nothing. She already know what time it is.
Hey Fred, I want you to answer the next question, Fred, to Tristan, and then to Kinley, and then I'm gonna do one more question. Actually, I'm gonna change it up. We usually let our guests go around this time, and then we just sit back and kind of debrief. But I'm gonna roll in my last question with everybody here because the synergy is just super amazing. The comments are off the chain. So Fred, prepare your next question. But Lamar, really quick, is this Lil Walt? Is that Lil Walt comment right there? I thought that was you at first. But then I said, that might be Lil Walt.
No, that's me. I stole his computer.
That's you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I stole his computer. I can log into mine.
I seen his picture. I said, oh, man, Lil Walt. Man. That's dope. You got his computer. All right, so look, I want you, Fred, go ahead and ask a question to Tristan, same question to and then I'm a crush it because I got one more question that's gonna really take us out for the rest of the show, and that's on toxic love and toxic masculinity. A theme that resonate since the beginning of the show tonight. So go ahead, Fred, hit us with the question. You muted, Fred. Come on.
All right, repeat. I was about to say that Tristan sounds like me, except better. I agree with everything. I would also like to say that we have another normal or regular panelist named Cory Hughes, whom I wish was here because his head would explode if he heard your complex sentence structure. It would be a wonderful experience to see him deal with you and your sentence structure. I appreciate good, intelligent conversation. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Tristan. Appreciate you too, Kendall. I agree with both of you brothers, 100%. I've heard you say some things. I actually took a couple of notes. I don't have a question because we're in entire agreement about everything that you've said. And I continue to marvel at the quality of parenting that I'm hearing from the guest who you find to bring on the show, Dr. J. And these gentlemen are no exception to the rule of great parenting and seriously strong Black fathers. And it's my pleasure to be in your presence. I appreciate you appearing on the show. I want to sort of revisit something that you said. You commented on some things that I feel strongly about. I think, number one, you both mentioned sort of religion or spirituality or Christianity possibly as a foundation of your teachings to your children. That's very important to me as well. I want to also talk about not glossing over the complexity of love. I think the Greeks, Pastor Staples can probably tell us just how many words for love the Greeks used to describe the different flavors of love, from agape love to phileo love to, the love for your pet goat to your dog to your, there's so many different expressions of love. And tonight I've heard us sort of speak of respect and love almost as if they were two different things. When I often like to think of respect and love as two sides of the same coin. Because with love, comes respect, and with respect sometimes comes love. I think one of the important things we have to do and remember to do is remember that we're modeling every one of these different expressions of love. One of you guys tonight, Tristan and Kendall, or possibly even both of you, talked about love as a verb, love as an actionable word. And that's very true. Dudes can tell our daughters from sunup to sundown that they love them, but what actions follow that? Is the next action unbuttoning their blouse? Is the next action hands down the pants, within moments or within a day or two? After hearing that, what are the actions? Love is a verb, and love is expressed not just in emotion. So we can't get too overcome by the idea that love is just a feminine expression. I don't at all argue with what we go through as men in the society nowadays with people sort of striking the expression of love in any type of tender way as being unmasculine, because masculinity to me is also the confidence to emote. Masculinity is not the fear of what anybody may think of you. One of the proudest moments of my life and what exhibited the most masculinity my son ever expressed to me was walking over to me one day. And I know we're talking about daughters, but we're talking about expressions of masculinity and confidence. As a baseball player and a 15-year-old, seeing my son walk purposely over to me in front of all of his high school friends and give me a hug and a kiss on the cheek. I did not teach him that. And most of us, my father would never have come up to me, put his arm around me and kissed me on the cheek at a baseball game or expected that from me. But the fact that he could do that spoke volumes to what he had obviously learned between my father 1.0 and me 2.0. And that's what we hope, that in our expressions of love, we can exhibit love in its many numerous expressions, whether it's giving your wife or partner or her mom a flower, doing the dishes, asking her, did you get enough to eat? Or you look tired, honey. Why don't you just come in and let's order out? The numerous expressions of love that hopefully your daughter will take into her future relationships and realize she can start striking stuff off the lips. This guy says he loves me to the moon and back and wants to go a step further in our physical relationship, but he doesn't have time for me. He knows I'm only 17 or 18. He's 21. What does he want with me in the first place? There have been numerous things you guys have said that I have agreed with, and I wanted to make sure we did not gloss over how complex love is and the numerous expressions of it, and make sure that our kids, our daughters particularly, know that you have to be on the lookout. I also heard red flags mentioned here a couple of times too. I think it was Kendall who came in and was talking about red flags. I'm a big proponent of not ignoring red flags. And the other panelists here can tell you that. And it was a pleasure to hear you talking about it, because I agree strongly with believing when people tell you who they are, believing what they say. So, Brother Ottley, I'll turn it back over to you, sir.
I appreciate the comments, man. I really do. We have touched on a lot of different things related to our daughters' first crushes, their first loves, which should be us as fathers, but then also how we prepare them for the world. Because I keep hearing that the game is real, and we know how we were as young boys. At 15, 16, Dr. Staples, Reggie, y'all remember what it was like, to be out on the schoolyard, and we learned certain, words to say to Fred's point, to get what we wanted. So we learned how to practice or the form and symptom of love to give us the outcome that we wanted. Right, Murph? It wasn't really love itself. We just learned how to perform. And Murph, you use this word performative all the time. As we learn how to perform so that we can execute and get what it is that we want. And I think that is part of toxic masculinity, as Tristan mentioned earlier, but toxic masculinity also leads to toxic love, right? Our inability as men to love ourselves. Kenley, you mentioned this earlier. If we don't love ourselves, how can we love someone else, right? And I love what Sister Staples mentioned earlier, man, in a comment. Let me go back to the comment before I ask this question. because this was early on. She said something so profound. I wanted to go back to it. If your daughter doesn't like who you are as a man, she won't care how you feel about the man she's dating.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that hit me like a pound of bricks.
That's real.
Because we're talking about self. If we're preparing, cultivating, designing a space at home where we can teach our daughters love, but if she don't love us, if she don't like who we are as men, then how can we ever instruct about a person that she wants to date?
Jay, I want to offer something, and Doc and Kinsley, I think first of all, great. Jason, you've done a great job of finding people who are equally yoked in the conversation. You feel me? Like, it's just a beautiful thing. I'm going to say something contrary to what you guys have both said, though. I just thought about it tonight. I never have taught my daughter does find me as her archetype, like of what a man is, right? And I know that because she's told me she wants an athletic, articulate dude, blah blah blah, that likes to wrestle. Her daddy a wrestler. I know why she said that, but I also have never taught her. I don't think I'm her first love. I think that what I've honestly taught her to be her first love, for her to fill her cup up with herself. And this is self-interest I'm talking about. I'm not talking about selfishness. I'm talking about self-interest. I want her to have a full cup and recognize there is no cup. I want her to feel love and be loved and find and hopefully the energy she gives off attracts a man who is attracted to such a strong and vibrant love that she has. Not a love for self in a way where it's look at me, I'm Gucci'd out, but more or less the inadvertent leader. You know what I'm saying? Like the light is shining so bright off of her that only a strong man would be attracted to that light. You got to be strong to want to go out with my daughter, Michael Murphy. Because Michael Murphy's grown up with a philosophy. It's a no-ho go in our house. We don't do no-ho shit. So you might want to go hard, period. And so with that philosophy, I just want to say that and see what you guys thought about this. I have taught my daughter to not love herself, like love her above everybody else, but to really fill her cup up with herself and affirm the verbs of her actions, and therefore attract people who are equally yoked. What do you guys think about that?
I think you said something great, man. I just only comment I have is love yourself and fill your cup up. Absolutely, I think that we're all saying that. The point that I was making about your daughter's first love being her father, meaning the masculine form of a man being her first love, right?
I got you.
Not that she doesn't love herself, but if there's a man on this planet that is her first love, it's her father's voice out the womb while she's home. It's her father's voice when she bumps and scrapes her knee. It's her father's voice when she doesn't do well on her first exam, right? It is that love that I think she holds on to, and I don't know that we talk enough about.
But I want to share
how powerful it is.
But Jay, I want to share with you guys. I say this because that came from a man's voice. You know what I'm saying? Like when I say, "Yo, what are the dope things about you?" and when she starts to explore those dope things about herself, it is my voice telling her, guiding her in that journey inside. Who are you? Who do you want to be? What are your actions? What's the math? You know what I'm saying? What's the math? What's the real math here? And when she thinks about that, she hear me. She hear me talking that because that's structure and boundaries. But really what I'm really trying to help her do is provide her with the lane to drive down and understand that you're going to hit sides of that road, but hopefully you can stay in between the lines.
You're just talking about your own personal method of helping to build self-esteem in your daughter, and you're drawing your own brand of word pictures, sort of to express that, and it's going to be unique and individual to, which is probably the definition of one or the other, but it's a unique thing for each dad, and your daughter will appreciate your expression of it, and she should understand you if you spend enough time listening to her. That's something else I wanted to talk about earlier. I think it was Tristan who was talking to his daughter and giving her permission to tell him when he screwed up, when he hurt her, and even going farther back, he was talking about her, I think, as a younger child. But one of the things that we need to do is not just listen to them when they talk to us, but when your daughters are really young, to listen to them talk. Listen to them when they talk to their mother. Listen to them when they talk to their friends. It gives you a better window into the way little girls think. But what Murph's talking about is just his own way of communicating self-esteem to his daughter. And that's going to be different for each and every one of us. I spend a lot of time teasing my daughter. I tell my kids I hate them. I honestly tell them I can't screw them up any worse than I already screwed up. So I tell them they're easier to love from a distance and go back to California and all kind of stuff. I tell my daughter how goofy she looked when she was 13. I didn't never think nobody would, just all kinds of stuff, man, just to rib them. And she told me this morning on Instagram, I got a best father of a greatest father of all Instagram posts this morning, because she told me she loves when she teases me. It just shows her how much I love her. But that's the nature of our relationship, and it's also an illustration of the kind of self-esteem that she has and the belief in my affection and love for her, that I can rib her like that I can constantly give her hell. I mean, she'll walk up to me to hug and I mush her right in the face, man, like push her across the room, and she'll go, Dad, but she knows the game. That's all in love. But I appreciate what you're talking about, Murph. Again, you being Dr. Spock or Mr. Spock on us, and a unique way to communicate.
Hey, so look, we got about 15 minutes, and I want to kind of jump in. This last question.
There was one thing that we didn't really address, and that is, being that I explained this before, that my daughter was 19, and I was talking about her having a boyfriend and stuff like that. So what we have to do is we have to learn the love at each stage of their life. As they're a baby, that love is different from the love that I'm showing my daughter at 19 than the love that she had when she didn't even know who I was. She know my voice. She she's a baby laying on my chest. She just knows that she in the right place and she comfortable. But that love that I'm giving her at that point is a baby love. That love has to mature with her. So your love has to mature with every step of her life, and as she grows, the love has to change to so that it's reciprocated or given in the way that she can understand it at her age as she grows older. If that makes sense, if I'm explaining that correctly. So there's different stages of love that we have to show our children as they grow older.
Yeah, stages of life. Hey, we only got 10 minutes, guys, and y'all have enjoyed this conversation so much because I keep hearing y'all like chime in on top of one another, and I haven't heard Murph's dog as much tonight. So maybe Murph's dog is also enjoying the show. Other weeks, Murph, maybe we need to replay the show for your dogs during the week.
Bro, they in the background acting crazy right now.
Damn, man. Well, they've been
quarantine.
They've been quiet most of the night. Well, look, we only got a few minutes remaining, and I want to jump right into this. And I spelled it wrong. Go back and fix toxic masculinity. I spelled it wrong. So those who are spelling guru, I will fix it. I promise you. But really quick, the last 10 to 12 minutes that we have, we're going to have a roundtable discussion on toxic masculinity, toxic love. Is a real thing. In what ways have you taught your daughter about how to navigate through toxic love?
I want to go ahead and jump in and say something real quick. One of the things that I heard earlier, that someone spoke to the complexity of love. What I like to also offer that love is dynamic, right? And because love is so dynamic, that means it has multiple dimensions and is multifaceted, right? So when we understand that as a construct, we make room for how there are a myriad of ways in which love manifests. And we understand that we must be open to the different ways in which love can be shown, love can be known, and love can be experienced. So one of the ways in which I think that we're able to attend to that is when we look for ways and allow others to inform us on how they can be loved best, and not only allow our own conception of love to be the defining way in which we show love. Because some of the times we think that we're showing love, but some others might be like, nah, I need it another way. And we got to be open to exploring those other possibilities. Again, I can't say how much that I allow my wife and daughter to lead me along that path so I can learn how to love, because I didn't always grow up in a moment in which love was shown. I grew up in a place where love was expected to be understood. You know, we take care of you, we do this, we do that. You know we love you, but no, I need to hear it. So my wife is also, my daughter will come and do her hair, and she'll say, Daddy, you like my hair? And I always am intentional. Yeah, it looks good. Before she even gets it out of her mouth, I say, yeah, it looks good. She said, you didn't even look at it. I say, but I know that it looks good on you no matter what it is. So I think that we have to always affirm and show our appreciation for our family, and particularly our young women, because once we know that once they have a clear conception of what love is, then they can sift through this whole notion of toxic love versus radical love, which is what we should hope to achieve, because radical love will extend beyond all other emotions, all other hurt feelings, all other things that are unpleasant. And you say, you know what, I'm going to love you in spite of you. When we talk about this whole spiritual underpinning of what we talk about, one of the things that is important to me is this word and deed. What if we were cared as much about our daughters seeing us in the way in which we hope the world sees us? See, this life is about representation and presentation. We walk out our house every day and we want to project to the world that we are a man's man, fully functional, capable, intelligent, strong, all of these different things. I've learned to value more what my family thinks of me as opposed to what the world thinks of me. For ourselves, we care more about those people that something will happen to us.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand the love language.
We rob families of what love is when they're showing us on a daily basis what it is.
Dang.
And he's saying something so good, we keep losing the
I
signal.
know. Dang it, bro. He's spitting fire, and I
It
can't
happens
hear.
every time.
Dang it.
Hey, when he gets that cadence, he get that rhythm, that internet be going.
Once the cadence start going, it's
Hey,
on and popping.
it's so
He's still
much
talking.
power. It's so much
He's still
power. His
talking.
internet service can't handle it.
True.
Too hot. He's still
True.
talking.
Listen,
Too bad.
I apologize to you, brothers.
Dang it.
Do us a favor, Tristan. Just turn your camera off. I think we'll still be able to hear your audio, and you may come through clear.
All right, so
Oh man.
Yeah, that's his Wi-Fi.
Dang, this is
yeah.
I don't know who he got.
Too much power. He got too much power for his Wi-Fi.
Hey, he'll come back in and clean it up again. Like I said, man, I want us all of us on the call. We are out of the formalities of having that special guest. We do thank Kinley. We do thank Tristan for being part of the show. But now we're allowing Tristan and Kinley to be part of what we do. We debrief, we talk through a few questions we couldn't get through in the last 7 to 8 minutes. And we may extend because this is a heavy topic and our viewers is still on. Y'all haven't left and gone anywhere. But dealing with toxic masculinity, anybody can start, and I'll make sure that I close out. Toxic masculinity is a real thing. Tristan mentioned it earlier. It also leads to toxic love. In what ways have you taught your daughter how to navigate through toxic love? Because even if she doesn't experience it at home, the assumption is she doesn't. But the notion that she will experience it when she leaves the house. How have you taught her how to navigate through that? And in layman's terms, how have you taught her how to navigate through the game?
Jay, listen, man, I've been sitting back and I've been absolutely enjoying all of this serious wealth of information. And these brothers have been absolutely phenomenal tonight. their intelligence is intriguing, and it has blessed me so much. So just even be engaged in a part of this conversation. I just want to throw one thing out, and it might be a little crazy. You know, I'm sometimes, you know, kind of like our brother who didn't make it on tonight. I can be a little off sometimes. Um, but what happens? I'm gonna just ask all the fellas this, and maybe we can just start talking about it and see what happens. What happens when she brings home that fella who looks like you, talks like you, acts like you, and still have a lot of your ways when you were young like them?
Okay.
Damn.
And the relationship turns into a toxic relationship, and it becomes her first hurt.
Oh.
It may end up being his first hurt too.
For sure. For sure.
Listen, I've already explained my daughter, and she'd already seen it happen. So don't if anything like that happens, she already know I'm popping off. No questions asked. And I tell her, look, once it come in my ear, it's over with. I don't want to hear nothing else. You ain't got nothing to do with it. I'm gonna take care of that. So if it's toxic, and like I say, she knows that I'm her hype man. I'm her hype man. So, you know, I'm gonna ride for my daughter, period. No matter. So if she's in something toxic and it comes to me as toxic, I'm gonna do what I know to do to take care of the toxic. I'm going, you know, I'm gonna handle it. However it need to be handled, I'm gonna handle it. I'm gonna handle it.
Agreed. Yeah.
That's verbally, physically, crazy. However it need to be handled, I'm gonna handle it. But she understands that, you know, when she involves me, then it's my baby. I'm gonna handle it.
But
so that means if you know that it's just a episode, a moment that y'all need to work through, decipher through how it ended up going south, and y'all can come back to one another, that's fine. Work that out, baby. You know, you need that. You need to be able to work through things. But when you say toxic to me, the way that I understand toxic,
you the cure.
A relationship that she shouldn't be in.
Cure.
So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna throw this out there on top of that last little piece I just threw out there. But he looks and he acts and he sounds. His motivation is all the same way you used to be.
Yeah.
Not who you are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there is an age, there is maturity, there's all of that. But what you used to be.
That doesn't make any difference.
And she see you in him.
Dr. Staples. I just want to say this. I think one of the things that in my life that I've learned to do, and I love the movie Fresh, right? That's one of my favorite movies. I have taught my daughter the chess game. So what I would do with my daughter and this guy who reminded me of myself, I would ask him about his chess moves. I would ask him, I smell a vibe. So help me understand the vibe that I'm smelling. Help me understand what not your intentions is with my daughter, because I don't want, you know what I'm saying? I get it. She got it going on. So I get that piece. What are your intentions about your life? What you trying to do? And why should my daughter like you, bro? Like for real. Like you just a brother. What make you so dope? Or better yet, what makes you grounded? Once I hear that conversation, and here's the crazy thing, I'm gonna have that conversation in front of my daughter. Because she gonna know by my body language if you slipping on your pimping, or if I smell pimping. If I smell pimping, she gonna know that I'm gonna be like, oh, I smell pimping. That's not what's up. He gonna know it. I'm gonna go Black Superman. I don't know if anybody know ATL, but I'm gonna go Black Superman on you. Like it's a wrap. So I think that way I would do it is help her dissect the game, understand the chess moves, and speak that in front of her, and then have her dissect the math. Because then I'm gonna ask her, what did you hear? What did you hear? And then we just gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it right there on the table with her, because I'm her hype man. I didn't give her enough game that she gonna know that he playing tiddlywinks when we playing chess. But if he playing chess, shit, I'm not mad at his choice. He chose wisely.
I don't
That's
think
what
it's going to even be possible for my daughter to bring anybody home that is described the way that you described them, which is like me. Because I've told her all the game that I know and the game that I've ran. So if he sounds anything like what I done already told her, she ran from him a long time ago. So this brother gonna have to be smoother than I was. He gonna have to be smoother than me.
But Kinsley, you say that, bro, and I swear to you, one of the things that we've talked about here many a time is the brother that brings that energy to the table, whatever that energy is. However, my hormonal response is to that, that is what I'm going to be attracted to, even if it's the idea of a father, the idea of the toxic man. I may not have ever met that man, but my mama done talked about him enough that I'm attracted to it because I think I could fix it. I could change that. So even if we in the picture or not in the picture, she's going to be attracted to that male role model, period, even if it's a negative role model. So it's up to us, I believe, to continually help her to understand the unconditionality of love, the joy of love, because I think that's the other part to it. Like we talk about it real, like that don't sound, I don't know if we sound fun. Like, do we sound fun?
Yeah,
I don't know if we sound fun.
Yeah,
I want my daughter to know that love is fun. Like love is creative. Love is mysterious. I want her to understand that. You know what I'm saying? I want her to understand that with the guidelines. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, and what you're saying to me sounds like some generational curse type stuff. Because in my line of work, I've seen women that come from a home where they've grown up watching a man, whoop their mom, and then they end up in the same relationship and they stay in it, and then they child grows and do the same thing. That's a generational issue. I think that's something that that goes beyond what we talking about right now. That's a different topic when you're talking about staying in a relationship and knowing that your head is getting busted, you in the OCH or the ER every other weekend because he done got drunk and went upside your head.
But Kinsley, don't you know some people that's like been married 40 years and they don't like each other? We all seen them people.
Absolutely.
Like
I put a post up on my Facebook just the other day that said that you could be married to somebody and still feel like you're in a long distance relationship. So yeah, I mean, I get that too. In my line of work, look, it was either this or a pastor, and I think both of them. I'm ministering, and I'm getting the worst of the worst. The pastors, they had to sit down and listen to the deep dark secrets of the families and stuff like that. I get that too. The things that I hear in my line of work and what I have to deal with is a lot. It's heavy sometimes. It's heavy, So
I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate it.
Dr. Staples, going back to your question though, because I want to kind of reframe your thought pattern, and then I want us to kind of share some last words. I think that if I had to communicate with my daughter about a man that she found attractive, who looked like me, sounded like me, his swag was like mine, his hustle was like mine, right? I would have to say just this one conversation, baby girl, I want you to want someone better than me. So I know you've seen me 17, 18, 19 years, and now you're stepping into love, you're stepping into relationship. But through that whole journey of you learning about love from your mom and your father, I want you to desire someone better than me. So if you bring homeboy through the door and he looks like me, my swag and my energy, you ain't found him. He got to be better than me.
I think I think having that, if and when we're tasked with having that conversation, I think that it is made more manageable by the work that we're doing prior to that.
Exactly.
So what I mean by that is that I believe all individuals, us included, but more importantly, our daughters are more inclined to hear us when we build up that cachet with them. Like when we have a emotional bank that we've cultivated with them, they're more inclined to listen to us when we try to call their attention to certain things, even if they don't agree in that moment. you build up that level of trust that, okay, he's not going to tell me, he's telling me this for a reason. So I think that what all we can do is prepare in this moment, plant that seed, foster that, nurture it, pour into it, and hopefully when that time comes, our word will be taken in the way in which we hope it to be taken, right? Because how many times have we been told something and just didn't listen? But it was certain people who told us things that we took that as law and we moved forward with it. Ask ourselves, why is that the case? Why am I more inclined to hear this person as opposed to the other one? You want to develop a relationship with those who you care for and love dearly to where they're comfortable with your word being the last word in the room. And if we haven't, and if your daughter and your family do not see you in that way, it's not them that has the work to do, it's us. We need to move in a way that gives them that level of assurance and comfort that he's leading us. And we are positioned to be effective leaders when we're willing to be led ourselves.
Two things really quick, Kinley and Tristan. I just appreciate both of you for joining us. As Fred mentioned and as Lamar mentioned, Murph mentioned, Reggie mentioned earlier, like y'all came through and y'all dropped it. I mean, we have been used to having guests bring in some good words, some good experiences, and really share. I'm not closing out yet, Fred. I'll get to you, brother. Yeah. We have been used to that. But tonight, you guys, Tristan and Kinley, have raised the bar in a very unique and special way that moving forward, the sound that comes from this group has got to continue to go up.
Yeah.
Not that we was on some surface level stuff before. We was going beneath the surface, but y'all brothers created a new standard for us tonight. And by the comments that are on this chat, the comments that are in our other Facebook chat, Lamar got a huge comment section going on his end. It's hundreds and hundreds of comments that have come through tonight, and we got to go back and sift through all of those things as we prepare for next week, which is Daddy, she still loves you, even though she's leaving the nest, even though she's going to go on and be her own woman. She still has love for her father. So I just wanted to just publicly say thank you, Kinley, thank you, Tristan, for coming tonight, setting a new bar, a new standard, and allow you two to just kind of have some closing words. Fred, I want you to make your comment, and then Lamar, I want you to close us out.
Oh, just briefly. First of all, Kinley, I think I called you Kendall a couple of times earlier. My apologies. But what I wanted to ask you was where you were in Mississippi. I'm from Mississippi. I'm from southern Mississippi.
Starkville.
You're in Starkville?
10 minutes. Yeah, I'm like 10 minutes from Mississippi State University.
Right. Okay, cool. My sister went to Starkville, and I'm from Picayune, Mississippi, down near the Gulf Coast.
Okay, yeah.
I'm from Columbus, Ohio, just in case y'all want.
Get out of here.
Columbus?
Right,
you from Columbus?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
okay, yeah, it's right up the street, you know.
Yeah. You see this wrestling t-shirt right here?
Miles away.
You see this wrestling t-shirt? I'm from the state of Ohio. We wrestle down there. You know what I'm saying?
Get out of here.
Pull them up.
Get out of here. Y'all already jumping on tangents. I'm gonna bring y'all back in. Can go ahead and
Jay, man, I really appreciate this opportunity, man. I mean, you know, I've been knowing Jason for a while, man. His college days, and you know, and we spoke about things like this, you know. What was the group we had back then? Was it MIA? Men in Action?
Yep.
Yeah, so you know, we this, man, I'm so proud of you to see that you're doing this, man. You just took the torch and kept on going with it, man. You know, I love that. I love that. And I appreciate, you know, you allowing me to come in with these gentlemen, man, and hopefully you'll invite me in to speak again. And my man, I had the COVID too. It ain't no joke, man. You know, stay isolated.
No joke. It's no joke,
yeah,
bro.
I was down 25 days, man. So, you know, I'm glad you're doing well.
I had no symptomology, bro. I had none. No symptomology.
Really?
But I'm a mental health person, so it could be denial.
I was sick.
Hey, it could be denial.
I thought I was on my way up out of here.
I'm like, I feel no pain.
Well, I'm glad that's how you feel about it, man. I promise you, I am.
It's Mr. Spock. It makes no sense to feel pain.
Glad you recovered. Shut up, Murph. Ken, glad you recovered, brother. Good to see you, man. As always, man. My love for you,
I'm
brother.
gonna sign out, man. Appreciate you guys, man.
Absolutely,
I'll be back
Talk,
again.
man. Absolutely.
All right,
Tristan,
bro.
man, Dr. Glenn, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for, man, getting our comments jumping tonight, man. It was on fire, bro. I just appreciate your scholarship, your
Yes.
man, really in this space of Black masculinity, but also in just the family unit, being a father, being the leader and the hero in your home. And we appreciate that example that you spoke about tonight. Just share some closing words, man, before we get out of here.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for inviting me, brother. I heard of you prior to you even stepping foot on our campus. We have a couple other brothers in our College of Ed who, as soon as they had the opportunity to become acquainted with you, I was flooded with calls and texts about, hey, we got a dynamic brother that's coming on campus. Y'all got a lot in common. I want to make sure that y'all connect. And I just want to say that nothing that I've seen of you has fallen short of that initial appraisal that these other brothers had of you. And I remain impressed with your level of commitment and engagement in the community at large. I was telling my wife as I was preparing today, getting ready to having dinner and getting ready to jump on, I was telling her, I was like, got this new brother. I had already mentioned her before. I say, since he's been here, he's engaged me about 3 times in doing things. And I said, I appreciate it because, and I'm always going to say, yeah, because I understand the importance of bonds and relationships, right? I'm one of those ones that are willing to give of myself when I see someone give of themselves. And I know the lonely place that the academy can be for people that look like you and I. And I told you that before, that I'm always remain intentional about making sure that you had a support that you need, because I know that some days those hallways get lonely and you go to wondering and questioning in relation to all the whiteness and the institutional structures that we got to fight through. So I just wanted to say that to you in public to let you know, because we've been moving, hadn't had a chance to regroup and reconnect on that level. So I wanted to say that to you in front of your brothers in the audience so they understand the kind of work that you're doing. In terms of me, man, I'm just forever grateful and always looking for opportunities to engage with other brothers who are committed to doing the work of kingdom building. When I talk about kingdom, I'm talking about building the church, building the community, building our homes, but more importantly, building ourselves. We got to understand and be willing to be vulnerable in all things, because I think through vulnerability, on the other side of vulnerability is strength. We're not going to be made strong until we recognize how weak we are, right? Because when we lose, that's when we realize that we got to regroup. We got things to work on. So I encourage all of us to just acknowledge defeat. Don't accept it. Acknowledge defeat, right? Acknowledge pain. Be willing to be vulnerable. Lean into these real emotions and not let the world communicate to us that we're soft if we're willing to engage with real, legitimate emotions. So I just try to do that with my family, with my children and my daughter. I don't know if I got it all right. I'm sure I don't have it all right, right? But what I will do is I value the way in which they see me. The world can see me in a whole lot of other ways, but I want them to see me as the man that I communicate to the world that I am. And if they don't see that, if they don't affirm that, then I got work to do. So I thank you, brothers. I look forward to engaging with y'all on another time. Whenever y'all got that time, I'm always available. Hopefully, I've communicated that to Jason. He took me early this morning, and I got when I say, if you need me, I'm here. So thank all you brothers. Good to meet all of y'all. I look forward to connecting with y'all.
Doc, I need you. I need you on my campus. I need you on my campus, Doc. I'm gonna be hitting Jason up. I gotta get your information. It's gotta happen. It's gotta happen.
Let's do it.
Not just on your campus. I need you at my church. We're gonna have some fun.
Let's do it.
For me, it's just a pleasure having somebody else on the show who uses complex sentence structure. Thank you.
Signing off, man. Jason.
I say another reason to get rid of Cory.
Take care, brother.
All right, man.
Yeah, bro. Hey, it's been a great night, gentlemen, with Tristan Glenn and Kenley Reaves. Both of them gentlemen. I told you, like I said, them brothers raised the bar, man. I mean, we already bring it each week, but I think after listening to them, and I didn't probe them, I didn't send them no questions beforehand. Them brothers brought it, and I really
yes, indeed.
Week and moving forward, we've really got to raise our own standard, even if that means we spending 30 minutes to an hour prior to the call. We in it. You know what I'm saying? We looking things up. We reading through things. You know what I'm saying? We just can't just show up. You know what I'm saying? And go, because we bring brothers on who are entrenched in the work, right? And so they make us be even more inspired by the work that we're doing, man. So, man, I just appreciate y'all. I just appreciate the standard that they raised tonight. You know, Lamar, you always take copious notes, man, and you always kind of tie everything in. You know, share some last few words before we jump for the night.
Man, listen, I don't know what really to say. It was so much information that was dropped on tonight. I mean, I actually heard Fred say something intelligent for like the first time in a long time. You know, he just stepped up. I said, oh, man, I was shocked. I said, Lord have mercy. This is so good. We got to bring them back. You know,
I'm dead.
Love you, Fred. If I can look at anything at all, we have to remember oftentimes the first love is a place and a period of personal growth and development for our daughters. It's a place where they grow from, where they learn from, and often it's just that it's that new experience. And often with new experiences, there often comes fears, there comes joy, there comes emotions, there comes things that most fathers don't ever want to see, because we're often the ones who want to shelter our babies as much as we can to keep them away from hurt, keep them away from predators, keep them away from things that would just hurt them. So oftentimes, if you're a real father like myself, I have to be talked off the ledge, because I'm that guy that will dive off the ledge of the Empire State Building just to land on your shoulders because you hurt my baby.
Wow.
I will take myself out, taking you out because you hurt my baby. But sometimes we still have to do self-reflections as well. Self-reflections meaning you have to make sure that you're not grooming them to be in a toxic relationship because you showed them toxicity.
Wow.
We have to make sure that we're not the ones who are redistributing hurt. I mean, that bless that right to me. We're not to make sure that we're redistributing the hurt and being able to take ownership of the mistakes that we've made in front of them.
That's right.
And letting them know by the way of our actions, because love is an action, is the action word, and there's levels to this love thing. And I love the way, Officer Kinley said it tonight. Love is an action word. We have to be in a place where we're showing them love from a radical standpoint, like Dr. Glenn said, radical standpoint, not a toxic standpoint. And instead of loving the world, we have to put our families first. In the same way that our families see, show our best selves to our family, not just showing our best selves to the world. Tonight has been outstanding for me. I mean, it's been outstanding for me. And the reason I say that is because I've been personally working on this thing called agreement. All the love is coming to a place of agreement. Being able to agree with something, being able to agree and coming together and making that union more powerful than it could ever be standing alone.
I appreciate that.
There is power in agreement. So I'm gonna stop right there, Jay. I mean, tonight was so much information, so much enlightenment, man. I was blessed from the moment I jumped on all the way through, man. I sat quiet the whole time, gleaning and gaining information from these brothers who spoke highly of the relationship they'd have with their daughters. I love it dearly, man. We got to do this again. You got to bring these fellas back, man. This was crazy tonight.
Yes, and I think that Kinsley, his perspective as an officer, it definitely brought some flavor to the table that was different, but but equally yoked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it definitely spoke truth. And Jay, you did a masterful job, bro. Masterful job.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, the synergy was crazy, Fred. I mean, this is what we do. I mean, every week, man. I think our sacrifice as men, our sacrifice is that we create a better environment in which we were raised. We want more for our children. We want more for our daughters. And so, because we put that energy out, Murph, Dr. Staples, we put that energy out in the atmosphere. It only has to come back to us, right? And so, each and every week, we just keep coming back to this chopping block, and we're becoming better. And I think the greatest part about all of this is because us as men are becoming better.
That's what I was about to say. That's exactly what I was about to say.
It ain't just that we putting out better content. So those 18, 25 people who just joined because we're about to close out, it's not that we're putting out better content each week because of what we learn in the text or what we learn formally in education. We're putting out better content each week because we are growing as men.
Yeah.
The six of us that are on each week, Fred will say something and it'll charge us to be like, man, I got to apply that this week. Murph will say something. Oh, let me take that note down. Dr. Staples will say something. Okay, let me make sure that I hold myself accountable to what I'm hearing each and every week. You're getting great content because we are pruning. We're pruning the excess baggage, the dead weight that is on our branches.
It's real simple, Jay. It's put like this in biblical perspective. Iron sharpens iron. So I sharpen the continents of you, my friend. I'm so glad that you even allowed me to come on and be a part of this crew of iron sharpeners, because we can all say something that's able to sharpen each other to make each other better. Yeah. Sometimes it may cut, but then it cuts coming and then it cuts going. So it goes both ways. And listen, this show right here in itself has made me better. And when I say better all the way around, a better father, a better husband, a better pastor, because the conversation is real. I love it. A better counselor, just to be able to sit here and talk and be able to hash out some stuff from different perspectives, from different walks of life. I've been blessed by this connection. Even Duck Tape Robinson has blessed me too. That's my man.
I think we just admitted that once a week we invite about 1,500 people to our own personal therapy session.
Yeah, we do. If y'all
just actually admit that we just,
you know what though? I want to throw this out there. I got to throw this out there for you guys, and this is not on topic at all. So I'm just going to tell you that. You know, the interesting thing I said to somebody today, some lady called me from DC and she was like, yo, I need your help with this project. And I was like, cool. And then I started thinking about something, what Tristan said. He's on an academic campus, a predominantly white campus. I'm on a predominantly white campus. One of my biggest challenges is I don't know where to go next. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in all these conversations and people tell me I'm a scholar and I'm spitting knowledge. In addition to that, you know, I'm not there. I ain't there. And I'm trying to figure out, how do you get there? Like, do you get there at 50? Or do you relegate yourself to being like, well, this is what's up? You know what I'm saying? I always said there's a couple movies I hate. Hitch, Bagger Vance, and Ghost. Jason, you've heard me say that. Yeah. I hate those movies because it's always the person of color providing civility to somebody, but then the person of color has no power. Trying to figure out, how do I grasp my power? How do I, if all my people saying I'm a commodity, but then my pockets don't show that, and nor does my position. I just want to throw that out there. Just want to throw that out there. I'm trying not to be Bagger Vance, bro. Just want to throw that out there. Just a thought. I just want to, you know, this conversation tonight made me vulnerable. I said, you know what? I'm gonna be vulnerable on that because you know, it just put me out there. Like, I gotta say something. I couldn't get off this call without saying that.
Interesting question of yourself. You have to ask yourself, do you know what your purpose is? And in deciding what your goals are and what your future endeavors should be. When you juxtapose your purpose with what your primary values are, I hope you can find justification for your purpose and value in it if you discover what it is, or if you know right now. But when you know what your purpose is, bro, you're here for a reason. You're made incredibly, uniquely you for a purpose, for a specific purpose. You have a mission and you have a purpose. And most of us have a ministry. If you're Christian, well, we all have a ministry if we're Christian as well. But you have to realize there are no small ministries. There is no small purpose. You've been designed for something that only you can do.
Yeah.
That may not be make a booty load of money. You know what I mean? But it may be to influence somebody who changes the world.
Yeah.
What you got to do is to realize that whatever the hell it is, that only you can do it.
That's good.
Only you.
And that's what that whole, when we start talking about toxic masculinity, and I'm thinking about Antoine Fisher and a couple other movies that I was talking to students about today, and I started thinking about what is the purpose? Like, is my purpose to drive you, to serve you? Because I don't know if that's it. Because Jay, we've been on a couple different things that have blew up. And I have I'm typically in the same position on all those things. And I keep saying, damn, is that my role to be no disrespect, but to be a panelist? Is that my role? Or is it to do something, build something bigger? And I'm trying to figure that out. But I will tell you that tonight triggered this thought.
Yeah.
Truthfully. It definitely triggered it, because I was like, damn, I'm doing it in my intimate life. I'm doing it in my social life. But am I doing it?
That's a good question. And if you're asking that of me, I would say yes. I mean, you are. I think you do an incredible job of it. I really admire what you bring to our discussions. Learn.
Tony said something, and that's what's so great. Fred, you mentioned it earlier. Like we're in, like, we have this space. We talk with each other, but we also have 1,500 to 2,000 people who tune in every week and hear this. So I love when the chats go off, because we can put something out in the face of vulnerability, right? Murph, it may be to reach people, a multitude of people, one person at a time, is what Tony said. It can be the foundation of your purpose. Man, one thing that comes to mind, and Fred and Lamar mentioned scripture, and you know this, Murph, you've seen me build things, right? The foundation of me building things is on this one scripture alone. It says, if you build it, they will come. So I have always positioned myself to be a builder, because I always knew that I was more than just a panelist. I knew that I was more than just a new hire. I knew I was more than just a new person going through orientation another time, right? I knew that in me. So I had to build what it was that I saw myself doing, as opposed to waiting on somebody to acknowledge my gift, acknowledge my calling, acknowledge me. Nah, I ain't got time to wait. I'll be 80 before that happens, if I see it happening or not. But I had to build it, right? Yeah. So in the space you're in, West Virginia University, you have the tool already, bro. And Lamar will tell you, man, he was born in West Virginia.
Exactly.
Ain't too many people who look like you, sound like you, with your pedigree, background, and with your hustle and your swag. So if it's not happening in that state, it's because you're not doing it. You've been positioned to run the state, bro. Get on your hustle, man.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm gonna say this right here, and I'm gonna leave it alone. And I got two little small pieces, and I hope and I pray that this blesses you, and maybe give you a little insight in the area of dealing with purpose. I served for 40. Well, when I was able to walk, I was able to talk. I started my journey in serving someone else. I had been in that position and serving people across the country. Some of the biggest names in this country. I've had the opportunity and been blessed to be able to serve on different teams in different areas. But I remember there was a time when I said, well, is this it? Is this all I'm ever able to do is to serve someone else? And at one point I thought, well, when is it going to be my time? When is it going to be my turn for somebody to, bring back some of the seeds that I've sown. When am I going to get to my place called harvest? Because I've served diligently for so many years. And still to this day, I still serve. Any opportunity I get, I still put myself in a position of serving. I learned something in the Bible. It talks about God orders your steps. Every step in every moment, he will give you and begin to provide for you to be able to allow your gift that you have to be exposed. The more exposure your gift has, the higher the elevation you end up going.
Hey, Dr. Staples, you onto something.
The more that your gift is exposed, if nobody ever knows that your gift, what your gift is, because your gift have not been exposed yet, they don't know what you have to offer. So being a panelist is exposing your gift to be able to be used on a broader spectrum. Me serving in the area that I served in on multiple platforms put me in a position to where I am now. I'm now senior pastor of the largest church in Washington, D.C. That's what the Washington Post said. So since the Washington Post said that, I'm serving in that capacity, and I'm still just a servant. You never know, with the small things, what we think may be small may be huge to somebody else.
Respect. I appreciate that.
That was number one. Number two, I told you I had two. You're gonna let me get my second one out.
Give it.
I'm gonna get this one out tonight. How about I read a story. Of a pastor, right? This one pastor, he preached his entire life, like 40-some, 50-some odd years of pastoral ministry, and nobody ever joined his church. Nobody ever got saved. Nobody ever did. The same crew he started out with was the same crew that he retired with. And then all of a sudden, one day, there was a young boy that was in the back of the church. He was doing his thing. He was preaching. He was teaching, talking about God. But God used him to get this one boy, his entire ministry. One was changed. One got saved. One was changed. This young boy ended up being, as all of us know him, as Dr. Billy Graham. But it took this one guy never to give up on doing what he was doing and continue to stand, even when it looked like nobody was being changed by what he was doing. But God had allowed him to be able to be that catalyst to introduce this young boy in the back of the sanctuary to who God was. And now Billy Graham is probably, if not the largest who has ever done it in the United States.
Respect.
You never know.
I appreciate that.
One word you say may change somebody. And your purpose might not be to walk around with millions of dollars. Is that what we would love to do that? Your purpose might not be the president of the college. Your purpose might not be, the senator of the state. Your purpose may be that catalyst to change somebody into doing something greater than what you've ever done.
Respect. And the crazy thing about this is us talking about masculinity and toxic masculinity is what triggered this thought process for me earlier today. Was thinking like, when do you say I need to eat, or are you eating enough? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's never been about the material stuff, because that's never been the swag, that's never been the style or the motivation. The motivation has always been, what is the purpose behind it? Right. Like, how does this influence the community? How does this affect others? And I think that a lot of times when you are in a position like we are in, a lot of times I think I learned to appreciate service. But then within that, there's also that part where there's wanting. And you try to act like that's not there. But it is. It is there. It is definitely there. So I just want you guys to know I appreciate this. And typically I'm strictly theory. Like tonight just opened me up. I was like, oh, shit, I'm gonna just let y'all know me a little bit, because shit. I mean, excuse me. Shoot. Y'all got me wide open. I started thinking like, this is what's up, man. Like, we are definitely doing it. And this conversation about masculinity and toxic masculinity and what it is, and we got a cop on here, and we have pastors on here. Like, Jay,
I used to tell my Sunday school class when people would say that they would be looking for a mission trip to go on, and I've had even my wife that said, I feel like I could be doing more. I want to go on a mission trip because I want to serve. I want to do more. I just need to feel like I'm contributing somehow. And I was tempted to feel like I was lacking in this instinct because I never really had this particular drive or determination that I needed to go on a mission trip. I need to go to Kenya. I need to go to Jamaica. I need to go to Puerto Rico just to go in and witness to, and build houses and do all this kind of stuff. Because I particularly think that there's no service that's too small. I understand that God just made me who I am for the purpose he has for me. And there is no service that's too small. There is no mission that's too small. There's no church that's too small. There is no impact on the life. Because remember, when you talk about Christianity and saving souls, it's not us who does any of that. If somebody gets saved, they get saved forever. And if it's just one person, that's monumental. Somebody got saved forever, maybe because of your example or because of your witness. But don't underestimate the impact of your word, your concern, your witness. And don't think that you have to be doing something that speaks to 2,500 people to make a difference. You guys seem to be like me. In spite of what most people would describe as my obvious insanity, I always have been the person that most of my friends had turned to for advice, for comfort, for all of the emotional support that people need when they're going through difficulties with their children, with their wives. I have been involved in conversations with people that I barely knew that made me wonder, why in the absolute hell is this person telling me, a stranger, this stuff? But to people, it apparently seems like my shoulders are as wide as this office desk because they bring their burdens here. I've learned to count it a blessing. I've learned to consider it a privilege that people see me like that, considering my obvious lunacy, if you ask y'all and most of my friends. But God gave me that. I accept that. I don't feel the need to go and do organized types of things, although there is great value in that and it should be done. And maybe one day I will decide to or be moved to do that. But what I do know is that God gave me a particular gift and a particular appearance to people that makes them want to talk to me about their problems. And I don't deem it burdensome. I mean, it's to the point where my wife even says, so-and-so is having this kind of problem. You need to talk to them. So I end up sometimes opening my mouth with nothing to say but the prayer that I just said, and then God's Spirit does the rest.
And we're gonna jump, man, because
check this out. I know you're ready to jump. But listen, Fred said something that was absolutely outstanding, and I just want to tap into it. Fred talked about how people, want to have the desire to go and service other places, go overseas, go to different places and do different services, build houses and stuff like that. The thing that drove me the most is not that those overseas need help and need us to come serve them. It's people down the street.
Yeah.
And I have made it my goal that those who are down the street, I don't have to do a mission across the water to feed people. I don't have to do a mission across the water to go and serve and build houses, even though they need it and it's outstanding work. And I absolutely love everybody who has that desire. But my desire is that person I walk down the street that's standing at my bus stop, I've come outside the church and they don't have food to eat. That's where my heart is. I want to make sure those that's on my block is good. Before I start focusing on somebody else that's all the way down around the other part of the ocean, I want to make sure my block is straight.
Right. Amen.
That's my service goes to my block. My service don't go to folk that I don't even know. There are people that show up and they come and they'll show up at the church. They do all kind of things. But in the moment of them showing up at the church, I have to be able to feed them what they need. If it's housing, if it's clothing, if it's shelter, that's all biblical. You have to give them all the stuff that you need. Yeah. I can't wait till I get to the place where my block is straight, and then I can go somewhere else.
Right. True. Right. That's real talk. That's real talk.
So, I looked at Fred's head tonight. It blessed me so much. I looked at his head. it just reminded me of what it's gonna look like when Gorilla Glue come off.
You see that shine? You see that shine? That's a halo. That's a halo. That ain't grease, bro.
We got a couple of guests that I just want to acknowledge. Tony McNeil left your post up. It's great to have you on the show tonight from California. I just appreciate you crossing over a few times and sliding in our show tonight. Please come back. Please share it with your friends. We are closing out our series next week on Black men raising daughters. But then the following week, we're going to get into a very riveting, controversial, but needed conversation about romantic relationships here in 2 weeks. So Tony, thanks for dropping by. And also Flora, you from Puerto Rico. Man, we got somebody all the way from Puerto Rico tonight. We appreciate you stopping through, spending some time with us. Puerto Rico's in the house. Thank you all who have joined us. I do want to share really quickly if I can pull
well said, duct tape.
Yeah, she liked you, duct tape, man. She really did, bro.
Puerto Rico.
Yes, she said something. Okay,
shout out people in Puerto Rico.
So next week, this is what it's going to be. The 16th. Make sure you set your clock 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. You will always be her daddy. Great conversation as we close out from his lips to her ears series, Black Men Raising Daughters. It has just been eye-opening. It's been amazing. And then tonight has just been phenomenal because not only have we had some special guests, but we have had moments of transparency and vulnerability from just the brothers, and so you guys who are tuning in, this is how we talk with one another. And so you had a chance to really eavesdrop on our conversation tonight. And we know that the conversation that we had has really helped to rebuild, our community, rebuild each other as men. Lamar said it earlier, iron sharpens iron. Murph, man, my iron is sharpened because of you tonight. Fred, Lamar, I just appreciate you, Reggie, Cory, in his absence. His tax season for Cory, so he's talking about he's going to be out for a couple more weeks, but we'll get him back in as soon as tax season is over.
I'm going to hold up at least 2 weeks of his time. He got a lot of taxes to do on mine. This is going to be bad.
It's been a great vacation.
He got to fix some stuff.
Right. All right, gentlemen, it's great tonight as always. I can't wait till next week as we close out this series. Those who are still listening, please invite somebody. Invite a few somebodies. We are changing our community, as Dr. Staples said, from the inside out. Before we jump on a plane and go to Jamaica and want to change habitation, we need to change habitation in our own backyards. And so it starts with us. It starts with our community. It starts with Black men, and that's why we're here each and every week to help to repair, rebuild, and strengthen the bonds that really solidify our communities. Appreciate y'all. See y'all next week.
Hey, Jay, listen, as soon as Murph gets better, we need to take a trip somewhere and we can do this live at an island or something.
Yeah,
I'm done tomorrow. Bro.
At an island.
I'm out of here
He's going to
tomorrow,
get better
bro.
soon. He's going to get better soon.
I appreciate it.
Leftovers. He probably ate a turkey carcass or something that was in the fridge for like 4 weeks. I'm sure he was warned not to eat it.
Oh shit!
Am I lying?
Oh shit! Hey fellas, y'all have a great evening.
Love you guys. Y'all be blessed now.
Have a good one. All right, get well, man. Peace. Revolution.